It's truly an honor and a privilege to be here in Jersey City today. This evening, I am humbled by the request to ask me to speak at the 94th Freedom Fund Banquet of the NAACP here in Jersey City, New Jersey. Stony the road we tried, bit of a chastening ride. It is a deep pleasure. So I want to thank the President, First Breaker, for his introduction and his inviting me. I want to thank the two lovely co-chairwomen of this evening's event as well, and all of the laborers in the NAACP here in Jersey City for the countless work that you do every single day. That sometimes goes unnoticed and unappreciated. I want to say hello to a few people. My Congressman Payne, right here in front of me, critiquing my speech. Pulled up right here. Mayor Fulop, I don't know if he's still in the house, but just want to say thank you to him. Him and I have had a growing relationship since I've been elected mayor of the city of Newark, and probably a little bit before that as well. Trying to partner to do some things in the two largest cities in the state of New Jersey, which I think is a great idea, whose time is come. And there's some other elected officials here as well that I'd like to acknowledge. The council people here, Waterman Coleman, I believe, are here as well. I hope Senator Cunningham and Assemblyman Mayor is here as well. And I see the freeholder back there, my good buddy, Jerry Balmier. So it's a pleasure to be here once again. I left to come here. I was in a hospital at University Hospital in Newark. A young girl, 9 years old, was shot in the chest by her brother in a home about 150 yards from where I live. Her brother found a gun in the house that was left by the mother's boyfriend. And he found the gun and began playing with the gun and shot his sister in the chest. But by the grace of God, she is alive. I went to the hospital. They both are in the hospital. And so a family has serious tragedy. The daughter is in a hospital with a collapsed lung and a bullet that protruded through her body. Her brother downstairs in the psych ward going through what is something that's never going to leave him probably for the rest of his life. The mother has been arrested by the Newark police. The grandmother is downstairs distraught. The fact the girls, the brother, the daughter in diapers, all in 3 separate schools in Newark, trying to figure out what school is going to be like next week. And the only thing I could think of is that while America debates the constitutionality of the right to bear arms, nobody is debating the savagery that guns have unleashed on our communities where black and brown people live. The debate over gun violence is not something that's a political debate. It is something that's very real to families who live in these situations every single day, who have to deal with the level of violence that has penetrated their homes, their schools, their neighborhoods, their everyday life. And you would think that because the violence in these communities have reached past the inner cities and other people's neighborhoods, that the laws would become even more strict around gun ownership, but that is not the case. As a matter of fact, the laws have become more lenient around gun ownership in this country. because it seems to me that the more people die, the more people think they should get a gun. And we have to speak loudly in our communities and organizations like the NAACP about that, about the kind of gun violence that takes place in our community. And I could not, in good conscience, speak this evening without letting you know what was on my heart after seeing that young girl in the hospital bed in the city of Newark and thinking about the countless and senseless deaths that we encounter in our city every other day. As a matter of fact, there are more African American men dying in the inner city today than it was during the period of lynching in this country. There was a time when African American men were killed every other day in America. Every 2 days there was a lynching in America. That same statistic exists today in worse ways in some instances in our inner cities around America because of the access to guns and poverty and miseducation and the proliferation of violence in our community that we have failed to raise our voices about in a way that is making an impact in our community. So we're here and I'm not going to be long. I was told, we ain't here for no dissertation, brother. Wrap it up Sunday night. And I understand it. But I had to say that, but Still I Rise is the title of the theme of tonight, which is befitting. I had the pleasure to go to Maya Angelou's memorial service in Dr. Angelou, forgive me, memorial service in New York City. And I heard her son speak. Her son said, "My mother taught me that the greatest virtue above all other virtues is courage, because courage allows you to keep the other virtues. Because you can have a long list of things that you say you believe in, but every time you say you believe in something, believe me, it will be challenged. And when your beliefs are challenged, it is only courage that gets you to stand next to the beliefs that you say are yours." So I agree wholeheartedly that courage is the best of the virtues. And I've been trying my best to live up to the words of Dr. Angelou via her son at her memorial service. But when you say "Still I Rise," rising means that you had to be down at some point, right? Rising means that you had to be on the ground at some point, that you had to be suffering something, had to be going through something. So if you have to rise, then somebody's on top of you, or somebody's holding you down. And so she says, "Rise, still I rise, because somebody over the years has been holding us down." And I think sometimes we forget that that's what that means. We think it's a cute poem sometimes. Sounds nice when we say it. Our kids can recite it at our graduation ceremonies and we feel proud, but "Still I Rise" is about a long history of enduring slavery and Jim Crow and all the other kinds of things that we had to endure in America. That America is great not because it is just the best country in the world. It is great because of its people. It is great because there have been people who have struggled to make it live up to the democracy that it says it ought to be. It is great because of Medgar Evers. It is great because of Martin Luther King, because of Ida Wells Barnett. It is great because of Ella Baker, because of Rosa Parks. It is great because of all of these people who would not lay down, who said, "Still I rise." Who said in the middle of slavery, W.E. Du Bois said, "Still I rise." When they were lynching African American men, Ida Barnett said, "Still I rise." When they told us we couldn't ride the bus, we boycotted over 380 days, and King and Rosa Parks said, "Still I rise." James Merritt, they wouldn't let him go to school and higher education. He marched through Mississippi by himself and got shot. He said, "Still I rise." That's what Still I Rise means, and that's what it means to me when I think of it every single day. And I just want you to know, and I'm going to wrap it up, I just want you to know that the NAACP's job is not done. As a matter of fact, we probably need the NAACP now more than ever before. If you look at these midterm elections, you see, well, I don't know whose side you on. Today, people get trophies for being in the middle. I ain't in the middle. The midterm elections didn't bode well for us. I don't know if you know that there's been over 89 challenges to our votes in about 29 or 30 states in the country. That after they got rid of the pre-clearance section of the voter rights clause, that it's been more and more difficult for us to come out and vote. And the Supreme Court would rather protect corporations and allow them to spend as much money as they want on campaigns to protect their freedom of speech, and at the same time disenfranchise poor, working class, black, white, Asian, and Latin Americans in this country, and take away their right to vote or discredit them at the ballot box. They rather do that. They protect the rich and defile the poor and the working class in this country. It's the same thing that's going on. There are over 2 million people in America's jails today. 2 million. And almost 50% of them are African Americans. Another unsettling statistic is that in 1850 there were less black men in slavery than there are in jail today. That there are more black men in prison in America today than there was in slavery in 1850. We have a lot of work to do. Our schools are in disarray. Our graduation rate is nowhere near where it should be. Our kids, it's easier for them to get access to an Israeli-made Uzi or a Chinese-made rifle than it is for them to get a diploma made in Newark, New Jersey. These are the problems. We are the highest in the unemployment, the greatest amongst the poverty. Our unemployment rate is twice that of the nation. And a matter of fact, over 50% of 16 to 20-year-olds in Newark are unemployed, and most of them are African American men. We have a lot of work to do. But the dichotomous relationship of all of this is that at this same time, there are more African Americans wealthy in America today than there's ever been. There are more of us elected to office now than it was during Reconstruction. There are more of us who have access to the wealth and the democracy that America offers than we ever had in our lives in this country. And the gap is growing and is widening. So what does that mean for us? That we have more, but we suffer more. We have a president that looks like us, but we suffer more in these inner cities than we did under FDR and Lyndon B. Johnson. And you have to ask yourselves why. Why, with all of this power and resource and access, that we still, in some instances, are living in a worse situation than we were during Jim Crow. Some 60 years after Brown versus Board of Education. You have to ask yourself these questions. And the only thing that I can say is that sometimes when you come in from the ring, African proverb says it's hard to go back outside again. That when you get yourself dry, it's hard to go back out and get wet one more time. That the closer you get to the finish line, sometimes you slow down. Sometimes you feel like you've arrived, that you made it. You don't run as hard fast. You don't work as hard. You don't think everything is important as it used to be. But I'm a coach. I've been a coach for a long time. And when the fourth quarter comes, you play harder. When you see the finish line, you run faster. When the goalpost is ahead, you turn the jetters on. As a matter of fact, if you watch some football games, they leave their feet and dive across the line. They don't slow down and start walking. They don't get on their knees and start praying. They pray after they cross the finish line. They pray after they hit the home run and come around to fight the home plate. They pray after the ball is in the basket. They don't pray before that. Sometimes we pray and celebrate prior to our victory. And some of us believe that we have made it and we have traded in the rights of all of us for the luxury of a few of us. And we've traded in justice for the most of us, for luxury for the small amount of us. And as long as we've made it, then I don't know what's keeping them other people from making it. They say we pulled yourself up by your bootstraps. There was a time you didn't even have no boots. I don't know anybody, King used to talk about it a lot in the Drum Major Instinct. I don't know anybody who did not get help from somebody. And I don't know anybody who's made it all by themselves. This rugged individualism has torn our community apart. I didn't come up in a community of rugged individualism. I know that we've arrived because of cooperation and because of family. And because if it wasn't for the voice and the shelter of the church and the community standing with us, we would not have what we have today. And though President Obama is brilliant and smart and intelligent, and I'm proud when he takes the stage and he speaks, I know that he didn't become the President of the United States simply because he's smart. I know he didn't become the President of the United States simply because he got a swagger when he walks. Or because he got a beautiful and intelligent wife, or because he went to Ivy League schools. I know that he's the President of the United States because some people died, because some people marched, because some people got put out and shut out, because some people got stepped on and walked on, because some people chose to stand up and speak out and pave the way so he could become the President of the United States. And he knows in his mind that the millions and millions of African Americans and progressive whites and Latinos and working class people in this country put him in that office. Put him in that office not just because we voted, but because we stood up when people tried to put us down. Because Maya Angelou coined it very well, because we rose. Through fire, we rose. We rose. Through oppression, we rose. And because we rose, he is the President of the United States. And all of us, in everything we do, we need to understand that. Every place where we are, we need to remember that. Everything that's going on, you need to espouse that. That you did not get in that boardroom on your own. You did not become the head of that corporation by yourself. You ain't the smartest Negro that hit the planet. You ain't the first person that knows how to sing. You ain't the best black lawyer that ever walked around this place. I remember Charles Hamilton Houston and Thurgood Marshall. You're not the smartest black person that walked this earth. W.E.B. Du Bois was one of the smartest African Americans that ever stepped foot on this planet. He didn't have the access that you have. You're not the best and the brightest. Though you're smart, I'll give you that. And we went to school and we got our degrees and we get our accolades and we can speak at the awards and the festivals and wear nice suits and walk in rooms and drive nice cars and live in big homes. That there are some people who did not have access to those things that cannot do those things. So when you get a chance to thank somebody, don't thank God, yes. Don't thank your boss, thank Harriet Tubman. Thank Rosa Parks. When you get in the mood to thanking people, thank Fannie Lou Hamer for coming up here to Atlantic City. If you want to thank somebody, there are a whole line of people for you to thank. If you just read a little bit, if you just understand who you are, where you are, you know it's a long, you never run out of people to thank. You never run. I'm glad I grew up in a household where my mama made sure I thanked the right people. That I made sure I shook the right people's hands. And now I'm shaking a lot of people's hands. Sometimes you got to bypass the people who you know you should shake their hand and shake the grandmama hand that's standing in the back, or the great-grandfather that's sitting on the corner, because you know that you would not be able to speak at this beautiful park in Jersey City and this place if it wasn't for those great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers who couldn't even come downtown at some point in this place. I didn't mean to rile you up. Get you to do something you ain't going to do anyway. But some things got to change around here. And I'm so humbled that you gave me an opportunity to say something. And I didn't know what I was going to say, but my father said, whenever you get in front of people, you talk to them like they never going to hear this message wherever they go. And that's important to me. So whenever I leave, the blood is off my hands. And whatever God put on my heart, that's what I'm going to say. And if you feel offended, it's for the person sitting next to you. It ain't for you. I got a lot of work to do in Newark, New Jersey, and I feel good about what the residents have allowed me to do, what God has put on my plate. It is a lot. But every day I think that there were people who had to deal with so much more than I'm dealing with now. That when things get hard or rough and I think that people are being mean to me or doing something they have no business doing, I say this is nothing compared to what folks went through before I got here. And if I can't just endure this little bit, then I don't deserve to be here at all. That there are people who have had worse done than a little gossip and bad headlines in a newspaper. If you can't take that, then walk away. This job ain't for you. Every day I think that. And so I want to thank you again. I want to say Dr. Angelou wasn't just a poet. I don't want us to sanitize her memory, because we have a way of doing that. I had an opportunity to know Dr. Angelou, and I know that she was concerned about freedom, justice, and equality for all Americans, that she was the conscience of this country, and that her voice, when she spoke and when she read it for the downtrodden, for those who didn't have access to the places that most people have access, some people have access to. And so, in her words, she says, out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. I am the black ocean, leaping wide, welling and swelling, I bear in time. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Bringing the gifts my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. God bless you. Thank you.